Hi guys, welcome back to K9TV. This is our third episode going live. Very excited stuff. First of all, some of the things that I wanted to go through and discuss is, some of our people in Victoria especially are having a bit of a hard time with the weather. So particularly out in the Alpine regions, I know Myrtleford, you're having a really hard time. So our thoughts go with you as do no doubt the rest of Australia and throughout the world. Guys, there has been sightings of snakes. So we're based in Melbourne and there's been a number of tiger snakes around. So just as we're waiting for everyone to start to join us, please make sure you say hi, send us a thumbs up and make those little love hearts go across the screen. It's always nice to know that you guys are joining in. There's been a number of sightings of snakes around, so in backyards, along bike paths, that type of thing. So please make sure that you've got your dog on lead or supervised in these particular areas. The last thing you want is for your snake to... The last thing you want is for your dog to come into close proximities to a snake. Just on that, guys, if by chance there's a possibility that your dog may have been bitten by a snake, it is of the utmost importance that you get your dog to the vet straight away. And it's certainly recommended that you phone ahead when it comes to going to your vets, because maybe that 10-minute aspect of the drive, heading towards your vets for the anti-venom, if by chance your vet has already used up their anti-venom for that duration, or perhaps they don't store it, that's very precious time that's been wasted. So your homework for this evening is please make sure that you have your emergency vet contact details, not just of your preferred vet, but also of the vets around. So we've all got our go-to vets. We've always loved Dr. Kim from Paws At Yours. But she doesn't work outside of hours, and we also know that she doesn't carry the anti-venom. So you want to make sure that if by chance that happens, that your vet does have it on board. It's quite expensive and has a very short shelf life, so you want to make sure that absolutely you call ahead, make sure that they've got that anti-venom. The vet nurses are awesome. They'll start prepping for your dog as you make your way in, so always call ahead. I know in the suburb that we live in Eltham, and it's a beautiful green area, but bloody tiger snakes and brown snakes are everywhere. And I do know of a local vet that had 3 snake bites in one day. So 3 different dogs. So make sure, guys, absolutely be careful. They are out and about, even though yesterday in Melbourne was hideously cold and feral in regards to the rain. But please make sure, guys, have your dogs on leads. If you're walking along the Yarra, any of our creeks, things like that, no matter where you are in the world, understand or get to know what your snake seasons are like, and look after your dogs, because no one wants to go through that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the funny thing, and the irony of it only just kind of dawned on me. Tonight's K9TV, we've called it Airbags in Training. Now, as you can tell, I've got this a little bit of a beautiful bruised lip going on. I don't know if you could technically call it a fat lip, because it's not like super swollen, but it's certainly bruised. And it wasn't until about 15 minutes ago, and I was putting up on Facebook saying, hey guys, tune in, because we're doing airbags in training. And I'm like, oh, the irony of it, I've got a bit of a bruised lip. Guys, this is reality. This is what happens. I work with dogs on a full-time basis, and when you've got a big blockhead, buffhead dog that's super excited to see you and you get a headbutt, it happens. And Brent turned around and he said to me, mind you, I'm wearing makeup, so this is the dulled down version of the bruise. Brent did say, he goes, if you want to cancel it, because of course, once it goes on the internet, it's live, it's going to be there forever. And I could quite easily sit there and say, you know what, I'd rather not have this bruise on the internet forever. But this is real life, guys, and I'd rather be authentic for you guys and be real. So nothing bad happened. It's all love. It's just a bruise. It's not sore. So give you a close up. It's very sexy, as you can see. So nice. Maybe I'll just face this way for the rest of the evening. All right. So hopefully we've got... Sorry, I've just seen Alicia's here. Oh, Alicia's got some bad reception. Hopefully you'll catch up with us, chick. So yeah, this is from dog love, not from anything untowards whatsoever. And I'm sure, as I've heard many people kind of comment on Facebook so far, it's like, oh yeah, it hurts. You know, they sit there and they either smack you with their big paw or in this case a big boof head. So guys, all cool. And it's my choice to sit here with you guys. So hopefully you guys will share the love with me and not hone in too much. So maybe I'll face like this. Guys, airbag purple suits me, says Sarah. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, thank you, my friend. I can just give you a thumbs up there for that one. Cool. So airbags in dog training, guys. Let's get straight into it. Airbags, let's think about it. So for those of you that are old enough to remember what cars were before we had our airbags, you know, you don't rely on your airbags to drive your car. And if you had your car without airbags, so my first car was a Datsun 180B, go the old daddos, and you know, you learn to drive safely. You've got to learn how to use your gears, your brakes, everything, your accelerator and steer, drive safely, etc. The tricky thing is airbags are put there for our safety. They're not put in our cars now for us to go, oh, yeehaw, now I've got an airbag. I can drive like an absolute hoon, floor it, and forget about all of my skills, or your skills. So I quite often sit there and say, in regards to the equipment that we use in our dog training, it's all airbags. It's a last resort. And I would sit there and say, it's a holy smokes, Batman, things aren't going as planned. That's when you want your airbag to engage. So if you sit there and you look at, you know, when your airbags would engage in your car, that's, you know, that's there to save your life. It's there because something has gone wrong. So that's the way that I look at our training equipment. You don't want to look at or use your training equipment as though it's something that is going to control your dog or necessarily steer your dog. We see a lot of people steering their dogs with their leads. Look at your equipment, or may I suggest, start to look at your equipment as though it's an airbag in a car. So always be grateful that you have it, but hope like all get out that you don't need to use it. So to give you an example, if we're talking about having our dog on a nice loose lead, so we're going for a walk and our dogs hopefully aren't, you know, pulling out and, you know, yanking on our shoulders and our arms and that type of thing from both ends, that's uncomfortable for us, but also at their end, that's a lot of pressure on their neck, or if they're on a harness, that starts to put all of their load-bearing weight on their rear end, on their hindquarters. Dogs have got 4 legs, remember guys, they're not designed to walk on just the back 2. So harnesses, quite often you'll see dogs start to lift up and really pull forward. So it's an airbag on both sides. If our dogs are pulling on the lead, we're driving our dogs with the use of the airbag. What we want to do is teach our dogs, first of all, how to walk nicely on a loose lead without pulling, without that, you know, horrible, you know, leash pressure, you know, being on their neck. If you just put them on a harness, you want to make sure that you know, you're not just going, oh, my dog chokes itself, you know, with that horrible kind of sounding. And I know there's a lot of people, give me a thumbs up if you've ever heard a dog doing that. They're on their collar, they're pulling out, you hear that horrible rasping sound. So a lot of people say, hey, I'll just put them on the collar, I'll just put them on a harness and that'll stop the problem. What we want to do is teach our dogs how to walk on a nice loose lead straight up. I can see some of those thumbs ups coming along now. Thank you very much, guys. So if we can teach our dogs how to use the equipment correctly. Now, bear in mind, guys, equipment is human design. We've designed it. You can't just stick it on your dog and expect that your dog's going to know how to walk on a nice loose lead. That's one of the traps of being human. We just sit there and go, oh, well, this is the way that it's been done forever. So we grab a collar, we whack it on a dog and go, oh, you know, my dog's just dumb. It chokes itself. We need to help and teach our dogs how we want them to behave and how to utilize the piece of equipment that we put on them. So exactly the same as we learn to drive a car. Yeah, I know personally I've never been taught how to use an airbag in a car, and touch wood, I hope I never ever have an intimate relationship and greeting with one. But the thing is, if I know how to use the car correctly, if I know how to drive, in Australia we drive on the left-hand side of the road, we give way to our right, we stop on the red, we go on the green. If I understand the rules, then hopefully I'm never ever going to need that airbag. So, from here on in, if we look at equipment like an airbag, that's the approach that I'm hoping to take. Now, of course, you don't want faulty airbags in your car. Should the Heavenly Almighty arrive, that we don't want, everything that we're trying to avoid, you don't want faulty airbags. If that's your last line of defense and the one thing that's going to keep you safe, you want to make sure that that airbag, that piece of equipment, is going to not let you down. I see a lot of equipment come down which is purchased from $2 shops. In Australia, we have a store called the Reject Shop that sells a lot of seconds and things like that. Have a look at the quality of the equipment that you're implementing and using with your dog, guys. I will ask you this question. How much is your dog worth to you? So emotionally, how much is your dog worth to you? Guys, please let me know. Be a little bit interactive with me. I'd really appreciate it. Let me know. How much is your dog worth to you? Because I know that if I'm going to sit here and you're asking me to put a price on my boy Zuka, he's priceless. I love him way too much to put a price on him. So guys, put some comments down below. I'd love to see it. How much? Nice and quick. How much is your dog worth to you? Will you sit there and say, hey, you know, I sit there and go, oh, you know, my dog's worth, you know, $5,000, $10,000. Hopefully there's nothing like $3. Sorry, my messages are going crazy here. I'll get rid of those ones. So, beautiful. Mary, my dog deserves the best. Who can trump that one? Kylie Fawcett is going crazy there with some love hearts and paws. Fantastic. I always sit there and say, if your dog is priceless, why do you sit there? Not all of you, but why would you sit there? Sorry, I'm just getting rid of some messages. Why would you sit there and put an El Cheapo piece of equipment on your dog? We want to have a look at what is the durability of the dog. Is it safe? Here we go. Kylie Trotter, absolutely priceless. Catherine here, can't put a price on Max. Sarah, the budget is small, but I spend the most that I can. Absolutely. We give everything to our dogs. No price. Money cannot buy. You need to reverse your camera image. It's all, yeah, unfortunately, that's what happens with, Paul, thanks for letting me know that. But yes, that is what happens with live Facebook Live. So it is all reverse. So you'll be very good at reading in backwards English. Alicia has written here, both my dogs fell into a lake, 2 separate incidents. I jumped into the lake and ruined my favorite clothes. Absolutely. Who wouldn't do that? Our dogs are worth so much to us. Why is it that we just fall into the habit of not thinking about it, not being conscious of it, and we whack crappy, unsafe equipment on our dogs that should, holy smokes, hit the fan? They're not going to hold up for it. We don't buy our cars and go, do you know what? Just put the cheapest, unreliable airbag in there because, mate, I've got a perfect driving record. I've never had a crash, never met an airbag on an intimate level. Who cares? I can't always control other drivers on the road, can't control acts of nature, and do you know what? Sometimes just shit happens. So you want to make sure the equipment that you're using on your dog, thank you for the love hearts, guys. You want to make sure the equipment on your dog is the best that you can possibly deliver. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to cost you a fortune, okay? If you invest in good quality equipment, it should last you, you know, multiple dogs. And when I'm saying multiple dogs, I'm talking about, you know, let's hope our dogs live 15 years. It should last you multiple times. So there's some of the equipment that we actually really love and we endorse. And I know that some of you that are watching certainly can second that. Our name collars, okay? So name collars come in handy. We love it. The amount of people that sit there and say, oh, well, you know, my dog got out. Where's their details? Where's the contact number? And it gets really tricky because what can happen is when you sit there and you go, oh, my dog's microchipped. That's super. I don't have x-ray vision. I can't sit there and know what your microchip detail or your dog's microchip details are. And with our privacy clause and things like that, a lot of the times you'll ring your local council and I'll say, hey, look, I've got this dog and here's his council tag number. So let's say it's J123. And I say, oh, due to privacy reasons, we can't actually give you those details. So that leaves the person that picks up your dog, and I know that I would, as many of you would, you'd always pick up a dog if you saw it playing dodgem cars. It makes it really, really difficult for us to get your dog back to you. So guys, get a collar that is nice and easy for people to read the number. Personally, it's a personal opinion. I'm not a massive fan of those tags that dangle down. They look like, 10 or 20 cent coins. I've seen too many dogs that have been walking along decking, and they put their, as they're sniffing along, the little coin drops down between the deck and it twists, and then the dog gets their neck stuck. Also, the lovely people that actually engrave it quite often do cursive writing, which is very difficult to read. You can read this from a distance. So I really, really like our name collars. However, guys, we need to think about it. For those of you that know Zuka, he's about 50 kilos. He's a gorgeous Rottweiler. If we have a look at this collar on the other side, it's a plastic clip. Now, Zuka's got his collar like this, and he wears it all the time. Absolutely, because it's such an easy way to identify him. But I'm not going to sit there and trust a plastic buckle with my dog's life, because he's worth so much more to me. That is why when I take him for a walk or we're hanging out at training, he's got this Mr. Sexy collar, leather, well riveted, well designed. Guys, don't fall victim to your fake leather, your nylon, stretchy, things like that. Remember, this is your priceless, member of your family. You want to make sure your equipment's going to last. So this is Zuka's collar. So just bear with me. I'm going to pop it on the right loop for him. Buff head. So now, nice and safe, safely secured. It's stitched, it's riveted. There's the buckle there. So now, as I talk through here, now as I go and if he's on lead, I have faith in this piece of equipment. So he's got an ID collar, but then he's got his working collar as well. Now have a look at our leads, guys. What is the quality of your lead? Did you buy it? And I don't expect confessions by any means. Did you buy it from the $2 shop because it was convenient? How much would you trust it? Would you abseil down a building with that lead? Is the stitching good quality? Is it a ornamental lead where it looks nice and pretty? It's got diamantes and, it's a spunky color and all of this kind of thing. Or is it good durability? So one of the leads that I am personally quite a fan of at the moment is our, bear with me as I undo it, is our gripper lead. So it's here. I'm just going to bring it in a little bit. So you can see the stitching that's here. Okay, that's rubber thread that goes through. I find it really comfortable. I remember when I first started dog training, I've always loved Rotties. And I just one of those things. I'm like, oh, the bigger the lead, the stronger it must be, etc. But I found that they were quite thick in my hand, and in order to hold them, they were quite uncomfortable. This one here, like the minute I hold it, nice and comfy, nice and easy. I think the word's ergonomic. But yeah, these are the ones that we like. Brass buckles. Okay, have a look at the quality of the buckles that you've got on your lead. So many of them, again, they're just chrome plated. If you actually went to the nitty gritty of it, I'm not an engineer, I'm not going to pretend to be, but if you went into the load bearing capacity of the buckles at the end of the lead, so many of them snap, and this little aspect here, it just pops straight off. Okay, guys, remember, this is your priceless pet, the one that you love so much. If we think about it, human nature, if for those of you that are watching and have got little babies, you buy the safest baby capsule that you can afford. You don't buy the cheap and the nasty. Mind you, we've got regulations for that, particularly here in Australia anyway. But it's all about buying the best that you can, but being a educated consumer when you're purchasing things like that as well. So, have a look at your equipment, guys. The amount of times I see people and they're walking their dog on a lead that's all been chewed up. Yeah, we want to make sure that lead's going to hold up. If it's threadbare, remember how much you love that dog. Why would you risk it? What if there's a rabbit on the other side of the road and your rabbit chases after it? That's when you need your airbag to kick in. You want your airbag to be reliable. That's going to save your dog's life as well. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a drink. Guys, for those of you that have just joined, I'm calling it the elephant in the room. My gorgeous, it's not a fat lip, it's just a bruised lip. I had a bit of intimate dog love with a buff head dog who was a bit excited to see me. So all is good. My apologies. I had the choice of pulling out this evening and saying, you know, oh, I'm not aesthetically up for doing it. But you know what? This is life. This is what happens when you're a dog trainer. You get some dog love and you know what? Shit happens. Life goes on. All right, guys. So we've gone through, I'm just having a look at my list here. We've gone through why I call them airbags in training. That is your safety zone. That's your safety net. You don't want to rely on it. It's in case, you know, things go wrong. Hopefully there's no little ears around. If there are, you've got about a 5-second warning. It's what I call your airbag is your holy shit, something's going wrong moment. You never want your airbags to be faulty. You always want to make sure that your airbags are going to be there. That's that last line of defense should something go wrong. So if you're talking about your lead and your collar and your dog, you know, sees a rabbit out on the other side of the road, we nickname them suicide rabbits. Sometimes they just jump out in front of your dog and go, hey, what are you going to do about it? You want your buckles, your collar, the clips, your lead. You need all of that to stand up, because if the rabbit's on the other side of the road and it's a busy road, it's not going to be pleasant. And unfortunately, if you're ever witness to something like that, you can't undo that. That will already make a totally horrific situation. Just, I can't imagine, you know, and I never want to. So I hope that you never get to you know, be in that situation. We've gone through, you know, looking at the value. You know, a lot of us, you know, a lot of people are, you know, a bit thrifty and bargain hunters, and they sit there and they go, cool, you know, here's a lead from the $2 shop. Or in Australia, we have a shop that's called the $2 shop. The reject shop. I know in America, you know, there's many thrift stores and things like that where you can sit there and get, you know, bargain equipment. That's your dog, regardless of how much your dog financially was as an investment. The emotional investment is phenomenal. So, you know, shop smart, guys. Buy something that's going to last forever and keep your dog safe and alive. And, you know, it's happy times forever. One of the other things, guys, that I wanted to talk about in regards to airbag training or airbags in training, I should say, is muzzle training. Now, a lot of people sit there and are quite surprised when I sit there, particularly those that know Zuka, that have met Zuka, and they sit there and say, oh, he's trained to wear a muzzle, he wears a muzzle. I'm like, of course he does. Again, guys, it's an airbag. It is that holy shit moment. Should something happen, should something go pear-shaped, I always sit there and say it's my moral care, it's my duty to prepare my dog for the possible worst case scenario. So I crate train all my dogs. You know, absolutely. I remember when I first heard crate training, probably about 15 years ago, when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, I don't like the idea of putting my dog in a cage. The tricky thing is, we hear the word cage, we have an emotional attachment to it. It's not about putting your dog in a cage. It's just getting them used to being in their area. So anyone that's ever had their dogs at the vet, whether they've been desexed or they've had surgery, the majority of times your dogs have been crated. A lot of groomers will crate your dog. If by chance your dog has an injury and your vet says it needs to be crated, you know, these are the things that I sit there and say we should prepare our dogs for. Now, I understand that in different cultures throughout the world, that there's different thought processes of what crate training is. Myself personally, when I sit there and I crate train my dogs, I don't have them in there for any other reason than puppies, because it can work really well for toilet training. Maybe sleeping during the evening, that can certainly work really, really well. In Australia, as a general rule, we don't use crates as full-time kind of dog containment. So if I can sit there and get my dog used to the fact of being in a crate on those small, rare and odd occasions, should he ever have to be crate trained, then, you know, he just sits there and goes, yeah, cool, I'm hanging in a crate. What are you doing out there? And still to this day, Zuka will sit in a crate, and he hasn't actually been crated. In all honesty, the last time he was crated was probably close to 2 years ago at a photo shoot. And prior to that, now Zuka's now 6. Prior to that, I would sit there and think that it was probably 5.5 years ago the last time he was crate trained. In a crate, maybe longer. But it's all about his perception, guys. If you've been following me on Instagram or any of the social media, you'll know that I talk about the mindset of our dogs and what their experience is. and their perception. So muzzle training. A lot of people sit there and think, oh, why would you ever muzzle train your dog? And a lot of people will say to me, the minute I say, oh, well, Zuka's muzzle trained, they'll say, oh, does he bite? He's a dog. He's a very well socialized dog. He's an awesome dog. Touch wood, never ever happened. But let me put a situation to you. Let's say for whatever reason, you know, he had a, you know, a horrible trauma and injury, and I needed emergency veterinary attention. Every vet would muzzle the dog. That's a baseline. And I know that a lot of vets follow us here on the K9 company. They follow me on my Facebook page, which is Saunders. They always sit there and say, oh, if people would just muzzle train their dogs, it would make life so much easier. If your dog's injured, the last thing you want to do is add extra stress to them. If you can muzzle train your dog where they just sit there and go, hey, this is awesome, I can wear it, thumbs up. Here is Zuka's muzzle. It is a beast of a thing. So, because he's got a big buff head, so just in comparison next to mine, you can see he's got a big head. So, this is Zuka's muzzle. He's muzzle trained. The way I liken it, or the way I describe it, it's like a food bowl with straps, basically. So, I will put the food, so this is where his muzzle would go in, this way. Right? So, my hand's in there. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll pop food in here. Another good way to do it is to put peanut butter in here, so your dog's constantly just licking in here. All right? If they're enjoying it, they're not worried about it whatsoever. Then, should, you know, holy smokes hit the fan, your dog's going to sit there and go, hey, cool, there's my full food bowl with straps. I can stick my head in there, and straight away your dog can get that emergency veterinary attention. I know of a dog that has been muzzle trained and had a tail injury, needed emergency, treatment. And if the dog hadn't have been muzzle trained, it would have made life a hell of a lot more stressful, not only for the owner who was clearly distressed at the time, for anyone that's seen a happy tail. So happy tails when, you know, dogs kind of whack their tails on things. Anyway, it was a little bit more severe than that, but the dog's wagging its tail and having a grand old time, and it looked like a scene from Dexter. If you haven't seen Dexter, there was just blood going everywhere. The dog was muzzled, got instant veterinary attention, and life was, you know, super duper after that. So, guys, muzzle train, no matter what size your dog is. So, Zuka's a big buff head, right? His muzzle's the same size as my head, if not bigger, okay? It doesn't mean necessarily that you need to go out and get a muzzle. Muzzles are great, absolutely. In a moment, I'll talk about the quality of muzzles to get. I'm just jotting it down to make sure I cover it. If you've got a little tiny tot dog, so like a teacup sized dog, have a look at a yogurt container. A muzzle is simply something that's going to cover the muzzle of your dog's, the muzzle of your dog, and that they can get used to, like, and feel comfortable having their face inside of something. That's all it is, nice and simple. What I will do, guys, once we've finished up here, I will post a link to our muzzle training video for you. So you can have a look at that. You can see the processes that we make, and you'll see Zuka volunteer to push his nose in that muzzle. In regards to quality of muzzles, do not trust those nylon muzzles. I personally cannot think of a reason as to why we would utilize those nylon muzzles. They're the ones that you quite often see a lot of. They're designed to, your dog's nose goes in, but it's designed to confine that movement. So your dog really, will struggle to pant, open their mouth. They'll lose that natural freedom of expression. And it can also add a lot of stress because if you're feeling as though breathing is difficult, that you can't open your mouth, that you can't, drink water, that's going to exacerbate any type of behavior. So I personally sit there and say I would never trust a nylon muzzle. I'm sure if there's any vets or vet nurses that are joining us here, they will also attest to the fact that potentially you can get bitten through them. You do want that full, whether it's called a box muzzle, a cage muzzle, you want that full muzzle. When Zuka wears this, you can see all the holes all the way around, okay? With Zuka being a Rottie, they've got buff heads, they're very broad, okay? Which is why I like this one, because if you can see that, that's what's going to fit his big buff head. If you were to look at any dog from a greyhound, a chihuahua, a German shepherd, Labbies have got buffy heads as a general rule. You know, particularly your chocolate labs, you can see them get really quite buffy. You want it to fit comfortably. You want your dog to be able to breathe, so open their mouth, have that full kind of expression, be able to pant if they need to. But the thing I love about this, whether it's a plastic one like this or whether it's like the cage ones, if they put their head into a bowl of water, they can still have a drink. Okay, so there's some of the things that I think are really important to consider when it comes to, you know, the equipment that we use with our dogs. Guys, that's just a sneak peek of some of the things that we go through with our training, and certainly the way that we look at things and discuss things and always look objectively toward it. So, guys, I'd be really interested to hear. Please pop a comment down below, even after we finish. Let me know, you know, what are some of the things that you've learned this evening? Have you sat there and considered that perhaps, sorry, my messages are going berserk. I'm just going to get rid of those. Have you considered the quality of your equipment? Do you think it would withstand? Are they airbag quality, or did we make a mistake and fall victim to the fact that it was for sale, so we bought it? Guys, I'd love to hear from you. The other thing is, let me know if there's a particular topic that you would like us to cover on K9TV. Always let us know. We're up for a good conversation. Anything that's going to help you guys, and more to the point, help your dogs. That is what it's all about. Thank you so much for joining us yet again. We are sharing if you've missed any of our previous live K9TVs, they will be posted up on Facebook on a weekly basis. They will be posted up on YouTube on a weekly basis. So you're always very welcome to jump on YouTube. If you subscribe, you'll get all of our videos and our updates there. We're currently going through and adding a few and spruiking it up a little bit. So guys, thank you. Thank you so much. I can just start to see everybody's comments come up. Thank you to Brent. He's the one that's sitting there and putting comments up. It's not myself that's doing the commenting. I'm the gas bagger. It's good genetics. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully next week, my beautiful sponsor of Buffhead Makeup may not be here with us, but we'll see what happens. Take care, guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.